Here goes nothing. Coming up next, we're breaking down a year that might be the best ever for the lost art of the album. It's truly a year of classics, rock classics, including a legendary band that were so damn broke they ate nothing but food from a can. And a great song came to them at the last second. This is when the album was already being printed, so it didn't even appear on the track list. It was a hidden song at the end of the album. Most fans didn't even know it was there, but it became their biggest hit. Then there was a legendary band who were coming off a record that sold 40 million copies. And their guitarist made a goal to do everything not to repeat that. It ended up being the most expensive record of its time, and at first only sold 1 million copies, from 40 million to 1 million. Plus, there's the album cover that may have predicted the destruction of 9/11 if you put it in front of a mirror. Also, the album where a hard rock band skipped the evil backmasking and just told fans right up front what it was, and it drove parents crazy. It's the top 10 albums of 1979. Coming up next on Professor of Rock. Hey, music junkies, Professor of Rock, always here to celebrate the greatest artists and the greatest songs of all time. You know, if you ever swung off a rope into the river or a canal when you were a kid, you're going to dig this channel of deep musical nostalgia. Make sure to subscribe below right now. I know you'll find something to dig here. Also, check out our podcast on Apple and Spotify. Make sure you rate us and make a comment there if you would. We'd appreciate it. All right, I'm going to do the album's countdown. I've got something in place to help me. I've got a solution. This is a little bit of a test here. We're going to see if it works, and what a great year. I hope it does. Now, for those who grew up in the digital age, it's hard to imagine the thrill of waiting for a new album from your favorite artist. I mean, back in the glorious day of vinyl or cassettes or even CDs, when a new album was announced, it felt like an event, something to save every penny for, something to cherish and adore. I mean, that excitement, that anticipation of waiting to slam down your hard-earned money, hold that album in your hands, listen to every track, pour through the liner notes. It's truly what made albums so special, which is why we're rekindling that passion today with our countdown of the top 10 albums of 1979, highlighting some of the absolute best that legendary year had to offer. Remember, we're going to cover the hit singles, the best song from the album, and the hidden gem from each of these. Let's go into it. All right, we begin our countdown with the record at number 10. It's a great one, Breakfast in America by Supertramp. You know, creative conflicts and internal disagreements between Rick Davies and Roger Hodgson were constant during the making of Breakfast in America. And the emotional toll of that success, that all played a part in shaping the album's complex history. By the time Supertramp began working on the record, all 5 members of the band were living in California, and they were loving it. Hodgson was the first to make the move. He actually recalled being fascinated with America as a whole, which is where this album came from. But when he came to California, he felt like he died and gone to heaven. His words. That was back then. The cover of Breakfast in America features an illustration of a New York City scene, the waitress holding a tray that resembles a New York skyline, specifically the Twin Towers of the World Trade Center. It's a very cool, cartoonish depiction fitting the album's satirical and whimsical tone. It's actually designed by artist William Neal, who created a stylized, exaggerated view of Times Square and the Twin Towers to evoke the city's bustling, vibrant energy. After 9/11, some people focused on the Twin Towers on the album cover and speculated that the artwork held a hidden message or was intentionally referencing the tragedy. This led to various online claims suggesting that the cover was a foreknowledge or a message related to 9/11. Now, if you hold it in the mirror right above the Twin Towers, the U and the P from the band name Supertramp eerily look like a 9 and an 11. It does. And people have said the orange juice looks like flames above the buildings. And the waitress is standing in front of a window view of the city from a plane, is what people have said. Of course, it's just an eerie coincidence. The cover was created years before the attacks, obviously, and its design was purely a stylized depiction of New York City. No prophetic intent there, but it is very interesting. The singles from Breakfast in America were The Logical Song. That one hit number 6.
Logical, oh, responsible, practical.
The title track, Breakfast in America, that hit number 62. That should have been a bigger hit, I think.
Take a jumbo across the water, like to see America.
Goodbye Stranger went to number 15. And what I believe is the best song on the record, Take the Long Way Home, written by Roger Hodgson.
Goodbye, stranger. It's been nice playing a part in a picture show. We'll take the long way home.
We should cover that one in depth. That brilliantly crafted track articulates Roger's disappointment of not getting a warm reception from his wife when he returned home from a long tour. There's a lot more than just that. We'll cover it. Take the Long Way Home traveled to number 10 on the Billboard Hot 100 and number 4 in Canada. Now, the hidden gem off Breakfast in America is Just Another Nervous Wreck. Got to give some love to Rick Davies. It's a track that gives you a jolt of energy to tackle high-pressure changes in your life, like divorce or a stressful job. I really admire how the song tackles the ebb and the flow of ambition. I mean, at one point in your life, you may be relentlessly chasing fame and fortune, but as you get older, you might lose the craving for success, as the song points out in the second verse.
I lost the craving for success.
It could just be that you were drained by the grind of constantly pressing for more and more and more. Now, this track, it has a rebellious defiance that makes you want to sing the "Don't Give a Damn, Fight While You Can" chorus at the top of your lungs. That's how I've been feeling, especially lately. Okay, at number 9 on our top 10 albums of 79, I got the mighty Van Halen 2. Van Halen 2 was recorded in a lightning fast 2 weeks after they completed their first worldwide tour. These guys were crazy. But true to their wild reputation, the notorious foursome from Pasadena, they didn't cut back on the partying one bit during those hectic sessions. Still, they'd come a long way from their early days as a backyard party band. The photo shoot for the back cover of Van Halen 2 resulted in David Lee Roth breaking his foot. This is when he was performing a series of spread eagle leaps in the air, which we'll see on the album cover. On the third try, he landed awkwardly on a microphone stand and broke a bone in his left foot, but he valiantly finished the shoot anyway. That's how that was back then. Did you know the iconic black and yellow Bumblebee guitar on the back of Van Halen 2's album is actually buried with Pantera guitarist Dimebag Darrell, who was tragically killed in December 2004. Some of you probably know this, but Eddie placed the guitar in Dimebag's Kiss casket at his funeral because Darrell had once said it was his favorite guitar. It's really a poignant piece of rock history there. The singles from Van Halen 2 were Dance the Night Away, that went to number 15. Beautiful Girls went to number 84. And Somebody Call a Doctor was also a single, didn't chart very high.
Dance the night away. All I need is a beautiful girl. Somebody give me a doctor.
Now, it's hard to believe Diamond Dave sometimes. He's told so many tall tales, love it. But during a 2006 performance in San Diego, California, Dave did share a funny story about how he came up with Dance the Night Away, the lyrics anyway. He explained that it was inspired by a woman he saw who was having a good time in the back of a truck, and when she was trying to escape from some police officers, she hurried into the bar where the band was playing, and she was wearing her pants backwards. Now, Eddie had planned to shred a big solo in Dance the Night Away, but Dave talked him into using hand claps instead. Hand claps over Eddie Van Halen ripping it up? Okay, but it worked. In my opinion, the best song on Van Halen 2 is Beautiful Girls. It was originally titled Bring On the Girls. Beautiful Girls was recorded by Diamond Dave with his shirt off, sipping tequila, as it should be.
I'm having fun, and I know you know I got no special plans.
Classic Van Halen in the DLR area, with Eddie's signature tapping technique while playing some innovative riffs, Michael Anthony's throbbing bass, Alex's propelling drumming, and of course Dave's sexual bravado, complete with the ooh la la and a kiss at the end of the track. Now, the sleeper jam from the second Van Halen LP for me is Light Up the Sky, one of Dave's best vocals and some really cool funky licks by Eddie.
Come see your children, yeah, they're lighting up the skies.
Also, Spanish Fly is really cool. It was recorded on a cheap nylon string guitar, and Eddie killed it. All right, the next amazing LP on our countdown is Damn the Torpedoes by Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers at number 8. Now, this was the album where many fans discovered the greatness of Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. The title of this legendary album is inspired by the famous quote from Admiral David Farragut, "Damn the Torpedoes, full speed ahead." With the help of co-producer Jimmy Iovine, Damn the Torpedoes marked a significant advancement in the band's sound and the production quality of this band. The singles in America were Don't Do Me Like That, phenomenal, which was Tom's first top 10 single, actually. Refugee at number 15, and Here Comes My Girl at number 59. Even The Losers was a single in some places. But my pick for the best track from Damn the Torpedoes has got to be Refugee, one of the greatest of all time. Tom said that Refugee was a response to the pressures of the music industry. Tom ended up in a big fight with the record company when ABC Records attempted to sell their contract to MCA Records. This is without their knowledge, even though the contract clearly stated they didn't have the right to do that. Now, Tom was so frustrated with the whole system that he went to battle with them and risked everything. First, he found out that he was only making about a penny per album, and then he made the album without MCA's financing. He lost everything in standing for truth against his corrupt label. He went bankrupt in the process, but he financed the record on his own and poured his frustration into the ultimate middle finger track called Refugee. It's Exhibit A of why Tom is the voice of the people. The uncelebrated gem from this album is You Tell Me on side 2. So you tell me what you want me to do. This might be over, honey. It ain't through. I love that. All right, before the landmark Thriller album, the King of Pop gave us the LP Off the Wall, which may even be better. It was an incredible precursor to Thriller. Off the Wall comes in at number 7 on our countdown to the top 10 of 79. And it's interesting to go back to the conversation between Michael and the executives at Epic Records to set the plan to make Off the Wall. Michael wanted Quincy Jones, no doubt about it, to produce this album. He loved working with Quincy on the soundtrack for The Wiz. Epic, though, they wanted Maurice White of Earth, Wind & Fire, not a bad choice, but they contended that Quincy would make the record sound too jazzy. The discussion got so heated that MJ actually cried. He insisted that Quincy had to produce the record. Well, as we know, Quincy produced Off the Wall, so he got his way from crying. He helped shape it into an album that sold over 20 million copies and led to the creation of the all-time best-selling album 4 years later. Now, the singles from Off the Wall were big. You had the double whammy number 1 hits, Don't Stop Till You Get Enough and Rock With You. And then 2 other top 10 hits Off the Wall, and actually the largely forgotten She's Out of My Life. Even though that song written by Tom Baller was a top 10 hit, it rarely gets attention these days. Actually, Tom wrote the song about breaking up with his girlfriend Rhonda, and MJ almost didn't record it because Quincy wanted to save the song for Frank Sinatra to sing. A lot of people, actually, there's an urban legend that Tom wrote it for Karen Carpenter, but that's proved not to be true. The most unforgettable part of She's Out of My Life happens right at the end when Michael starts to break down in tears. His voice cracks on that final line. He tried to record those last moments with control, but no matter how many times, how many takes he did, he kept ended up breaking down and crying. But in the end, Quincy decided to leave it just like that because it was so heartfelt. By the way, that's my hidden gem from the album. Now, it's a tough call, but for me, the best song from Off the Wall, it's got to be the title track. Never been much of a partier, but I dig the leave the 9 to 5 up on the shelf and then just enjoy yourself.
5 up on the shelf and just enjoy yourself.
We all need to let go, live life off the wall every once in a while. And Michael's vocal on that is electric. Number 6 on the top 10 albums of 1979, I got The Long Run, the last studio album recorded before the notorious breakup of Eagles. The producer, Bill Simsick, and the entire production team referred to The Long Run as The Long One. This is because it was supposed to be a quick follow-up to Hotel California, and it dragged on for almost 3 years. Don Henley called it a nightmare to make. The band was burned out, and then they burned each other. This was the album that killed the Eagles for many years. After years of rigorous nonstop activity, they were at war with each other here. Don Henley and Glenn Frey were constantly at each other's throats. And then Don Felder called Frey Glenn Hitler. The tension reached a breaking point at a benefit show in 1980 when Fry and Felder nearly threw hands on stage, threatening each other with bodily harm. They hated each other at that moment, but they did make a #1 album. Still, it was a great album full of some of the best Eagles tunes. The singles were the #1 smash Heartache Tonight. This was the band. They were struggling to finish this song when Glenn Frey was on the phone with his old pal Bob Seger, who gave him the huge line they needed to finish the song, and it was a smash. Then there was a title track which hit #8. Then there was the surprise hit from the newcomer, I Can't Tell You Why. That's my choice as the best track on the album. Now, The Long Run was intended to be a double record, but the band was so fried, they struggled to come up with material to do that. And when new bassist and former Poco member Timothy B. Schmidt came in, he also had a song with him. He was actually afraid he wouldn't fit in with the band, but when he submitted the idea for I Can't Tell You Why, the guys loved it. Now, it came out of left field. It was a big surprise, but Don and Glenn loved the song, what it represented, and helped finish the song for Timothy to sing lead on, and it became a massive hit. So funny, because Poco was kind of like the farm team for the Eagles. I've always said that. My friends and I joked about that. Now, the gem from The Long Run was another song that was originally not part of the plan. It was Joe Walsh's In the City. Joe wrote the song to play during the end credits of the movie The Warriors.
Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
He did it as a solo song, but the rest of the band just loved it. So they re-recorded it as the Eagles, and they included it on The Long Run. It was one of the few united decisions that the band made for the material recorded for the record. Not much went right there. It ended the band for many years, but you know what? They went out on top. Next up on our countdown of the top 10 of 79 just so happens to be another drama-filled collaboration by Fleetwood Mac. Eagles and Fleetwood Mac, a lot of drama there. At #5, we have the double record follow-up to Rumors, titled Tusk. Now, after Rumors became one of the best-selling albums of all time, Lindsey Buckingham was hell-bent on not recreating that same sound. Wanted to do the opposite. Influenced by punk and new wave bands like Talking Heads, he wanted to craft something raw and experimental and a lot less commercial. This creative direction didn't sit well with his bandmates or with the record label, Warner Brothers, who were expecting a follow-up that would basically be Rumors 2.0, right? As a result, working on Tusk turned into a challenging and really often tumultuous process, with tension arising from Lindsey's rebellious approach and the label's expectations. The label saw it as a disaster, and the Mac's ardent fans were frankly confused. They were confused by the album. I mean, to put it in perspective, Rumors sold over 40 million units. And Tusk, it sold only 1 million at first. Later, it got up to 4 million, but you see what I'm saying. There were a whopping 6 singles from Tusk. Title track hit #8. Sarah went to #7. Think About Me, that hit #20. But Not So Funny, Sisters of the Moon, and Angel completely fizzled. Sarah is one of the best Fleetwood Mac songs ever. Talked about it before. Definitely the best track on Tusk for me. Classic Stevie Nicks expressing a very emotional song about her breakup with Lindsey, her affair with Mick Fleetwood, also her miscarriage with Don Henley's baby. Sarah was the name that Stevie gave to the unborn child.
You're the poet in my heart.
For years, she wouldn't sing the song live because it was just too painful for her. For me, the gem from Tusk is the title track, Tusk. I know it was a hit, but you never hear it on classic rock radio. It also gets the most smack. I've always been captivated by this song. It was the cut that caused a lot of trouble for the band, starting with Lindsey's insistence on using the USC marching band. Tusk alone cost the band almost $100,000 to record for one song, a stunt that was pretty much unheard of at that time. Once again, I thought the inclusion of the marching band gave the song a sonic force that swelled as the song progressed. Very cool. It was Lindsay's Pet Sounds moment for sure. The most expensive album of its day, and a total failure that's taken decades for most to recognize its brilliance. Also like Pet Sounds. But Lindsay's overall behavior was really bizarre. He isolated himself a lot during the process of recording Tusk. He recorded his parts in a silo and experimented with all kinds of weird sounds like banging on Kleenex boxes or using cassette recorders to add some interesting textures. Is that what would classify as artistic license? Sure. The album at number 4 on the top 10 of 79 is simply one of the best pure rock albums of all time. I'm talking about Highway to Hell by AC/DC. Highway to Hell has become a bittersweet legacy to Bon Scott as his last recorded masterpiece. Now, the making of Highway to Hell was intense for sure, but in a necessary strategic way. The band faced internal tensions, pressure from the record label, and Bon Scott's notorious partying lifestyle. And despite the chaos, though, they channeled their energy into crafting a record that was heavier, much more polished than ever. Producer Robert John Mutt Lange played a key role in that, of course, helping to sharpen their sound and bring out the anthemic qualities that would define this album. No surprise there, since, Mutt is the master of making a monster album. The title track was the most notable single from the album, but Girls Got Rhythm was also released as a single, as was Touch Too Much. The underappreciated cut on Highway to Hell, I gotta go with the anthemic, If You Want Blood, You Got It. This song epitomizes the powerful nature of AC/DC's live shows and the exhilarating intensity of Bon Scott, why he was one of the best frontmen ever. The best song off the album? That's easy. The eternal classic, Highway to Hell. The greatest guitar riff in rock and roll history. I'll take that to the bank. If Highway to Hell is the song or the soundtrack for Purgatory, I'd like to buy some real estate right next to the Bon Scott estate. I'm kidding. Every time I play that song, I thank my maker for putting me in a world that has rock and roll. As the biggest single, it only hit number 47 on the Hot 100, but the song quickly spread by word of mouth, and it went from dive bars to stadiums. It became the band's first true global anthem, one of the biggest rock songs ever, built on a simple 3-chord engine that just fell out of the brothers Young just out of nowhere.
No stop signs.
Funny enough, many adults and teachers pointed to this song as proof that AC/DC were satanic. And the band played along with this. When AC/DC was accused of backmasking satanic messages on their records, Angus Young said, "You didn't need to play the album backwards because we never hid the messages. We called the record Highway to Hell. It was right in front of them." I love that. I mean, if aliens came to Earth and said, "We want to know what rock and roll is, show me one song that shows it," it would be Highway to Hell for me. I listen to that one with my fist up. It comes on, and I'm just like this the whole time, wherever I'm at, whether I'm on a bus or walking on the street, wherever.
On the highway to hell.
Screeching in at number 3 on the countdown of the top 10 of 79, the coolest band in rock who somehow got cooler. I'm talking about Candyo by The Cars. I like to describe the Candyo album as new wave with a dirty little edge. It was a stellar follow-up to their self-titled debut that was basically a greatest hits album, let's be honest. Can't talk about this album without talking about the album cover. We've talked about it a little bit before, but it was designed by renowned pinup artist Alberto Vargas, and it featured a near-nude woman sprawled across a sleek car, creating a striking and provocative image that made people want to buy the album. And for the photo shoot, drummer David Robinson booked a session at a Beverly Hills Ferrari dealership. He posed a dancer named Nancy Beth, who agreed to do it. She was across the hood of a 1972 Ferrari. All's good. But when Beth got cold feet about appearing semi-nude in record stores, another model named Candy Moore lent her face to the final image. So the result was a composite that blended Beth's body with Moore's features. They deleted Beth's face. The artist Vargas copied it as an exact drawing. When the first draft landed on Elektra Records' desk, the executives pushed back big time. They thought it was a little too anatomically accurate for chain store display. So Vargas adjusted the art, and the final version hit shelves without losing any of its seductive charm, right? What looked like a simple pinup became a cultural lightning rod. Like I said, provocative, retro and modern at the same time, and it gave Candyo an unmistakable identity. While it quickly became both controversial and iconic, prompting some retailers to refuse to stock it, of course, that made people want to buy the album more. All right, enough about the album cover. The singles released from Candyo included Let's Go, It's All I Can Do, and Double Life.
It's all I can do, babe. You need a double life.
Just so happens that Let's Go is one of my favorite songs ever. Few songs energize me the way that this song does. It's a song that has hand claps in it, so addictive, I actually got into a car wreck doing them while driving and listening. Nobody got hurt. Baricco Kasich wrote Let's Go, but of course it was Ben Orr who brought it to life with his vocals, and the magic happened from there.
She's my one desire.
This was the Cars' first top 20 hit in the US, if you can believe it, and it really put Ben Orr's smooth but just magical voice on the map. That chorus, I Like the Nightlife Baby, immediately became iconic and a defining moment for this band.
I like the nightlife, baby. She says.
Now, the diamond in the rough on Candyo is Dangerous Type. Love it. This track is all about a fascination with someone who's a bit unpredictable, a little unconventional, even a little risky, the dangerous type. A relationship with a person like that is a thrilling adventure, or the most frustrating experience of your life, and that's what the song conveys. Of course, it's the danger that's attractive. We've all been there.
My curiosity's got me tonight.
The lyrics dive into the lure of someone like that. She's a lot like you, the dangerous type. Hinting at how we can be drawn to people who live outside the usual boundaries. Punching in at number 2 on the top 10 in 1979, it's the double album priced as a single album to make it more affordable for their fans. London Calling by The Clash. In 1979, some said punk rock was dead. And then smashing through the walls of conformity was London Calling. It wasn't just a punk record. It was a revelation, exactly as it was conceived to be. During the recording of London Calling, The Clash were battling constant conflicts with their label and their manager, Bernie Rhodes. And even though this band had already had a hit album, they were flat broke. They're often eating canned food, eating right out of the can and crashing on each other's flats just so they could survive. The album's title comes from a loan they received from CBS to help keep the band afloat during this turbulent time, making the record not just a musical milestone, but also a symbol of their resilience amid a mighty struggle. Then, to make it even more punk rock, there was producer Guy Stevens, who was known for throwing furniture in the studio to keep the energy up, keep them going. He would literally dump beer on the mixing board in the studio just to create some havoc and some power. The title track, that was the first single from London Calling, followed by Clampdown, Train in Vain, and Rudy Can't Fail. Great songs. Funny thing is, the only hit single from the album wasn't even on the track list because it was added when the album was already in production. It was a secret song that they put at the very end of the record. Most people didn't even know it was there. Some even missed it altogether, but it became their biggest hit. The dominator here is London Calling, the track that serves a warning shot about a range of urgent issues of the day: nuclear disaster, police brutality, environmental collapse, and growing disillusionment. The line, "The ice age is coming, the sun's zooming in," that reflects real fears at the time, touching on both concerns about global cooling and the threat of nuclear meltdown. Interesting. Joe Strummer explained that he wanted the song to feel like a worldwide wake-up call. A call to action for listeners to confront the crisis facing society and this planet. All right, I gotta give you 2 hidden gems from this classic. Like the title track, this is a song that gets my blood raging. Clampdown. It's all about how rebellion and standing out from the crowd can get squashed by conformity, with one of many golden lyrics in the song, my favorite being, "Let fury have the hour, anger can be power, you know that you can use it." This song is straight up badass. It's a way of showing how people often end up blending in just to avoid ridicule, and consequently they lose their individuality. My other hidden gem is "Death or Glory." Bottom line, in a moment where everyone said punk was dead, London Calling resurrected it completely. It wasn't just a punk record, like I said. It was a sprawling, fearless double album that blended reggae, rockabilly, ska, pop, and protest into one revolutionary package and defined a genre that everybody said was dead. Before we reveal our pick for the number one album of '79, I got to give you a shout out to 4 honorable mentions. It was really hard. Regatta de Blanc by the Police, Led Zeppelin, In Through the Outdoor, Unknown Pleasures by Joy Division, and Fear of Music by Talking Heads. Any other day, they would have been in the countdown. All right, now to the business at hand. Number one on the countdown of the top 10 of '79 is a masterpiece of enormous proportions. It's the only one that could be The Wall by Pink Floyd. Roger Waters' personal pain became a rock Rembrandt. No question. Now, during the 1977 Animals tour, Roger Waters was so disgusted by the huge disconnected stadium crowds that he went as far as spitting in a fan's face. That intense moment of frustration sparked a powerful idea in his mind. He began fantasizing about building a literal wall between the band and the audience. This image of separation and isolation eventually became the central metaphor for the entire Wall album, symbolizing emotional barriers, alienation, and the longing to disconnect from the chaos of the outside world completely. Roger's childhood was marked by profound loss and, of course, emotional struggles. His father was killed in World War II. It was a pain he expressed in songs like When the Tigers Broke Free and Another Brick in the Wall Part 1.
Lost in the ground when the tigers broke free. Daddy, what you leave behind for me?
He also grew up with an overprotective mother and faced harsh, cruel teachers, all fueling a growing sense of alienation. These personal experiences deeply influenced him, leading him to craft The Wall as a character study of Pink. Of course, a rock star builds an emotional barrier to shut out the pain and loneliness in his life. An autobiographical reflection, really, of Roger Waters himself. The singles from this double masterpiece were Another Brick in the Wall Part 2, which went to number one with a disco guitar part. That's because David Gilmour went into the discotheques. Actually, Bob Ezrin made him do it. Didn't want to, but it became a disco guitar song. Pretty cool, went to number one. And there was Run Like Hell, and of course, Comfortably Numb.
All in all, you're just another brick in the wall. Have become comfortably numb.
It's the most difficult task in the world to select the best song from such a classic work of art, but I gotta go with Comfortably Numb. Now, throughout the recording of The Wall, personal and artistic clashes were constant here. David Gilmour crafted the beautiful soaring music of the song, while Roger Waters contributed the darker introspective lyrics about drug-induced numbness and, of course, emotional detachment.
Is there anybody in there?
They fought bitterly over this song's production style. Roger Waters favored a dry spoken word approach here, whereas Gilmour envisioned lush anthemic arrangements. Actually, most of the record. But despite their disagreements, Gilmour's epic guitar solo in 2 parts became one of Pink Floyd's most celebrated and revered moments ever. Maybe the greatest guitar solo ever, I think it is. Showcase how their contrasting visions ultimately shaped the album's exalted status. Young Lust is without a doubt my gem from The Wall. On the music for Young Lust, that was composed by David Gilmour, who also sang the lead vocals. During the chorus, you can hear Roger Waters providing background vocals, though. The lyrics tell the story of a rock and roll refugee who's looking for, casual sex to shake off the boredom and exhaustion that comes with touring and life on the road. The chorus really drives it home with the line, "Ooh, I need a dirty woman." Ugh. It's all about that impulsive, sometimes reckless desire to escape loneliness and find, the one night stand, the no strings attached relief as rock stars are wont to do. The album sessions, they were so tense that keyboardist Richard Wright was fired. But he actually had to stay on as a paid session musician to finish the album and the tour. But get this, because the tour was so lavish in stage production, Wright was the only member who made money because he wasn't liable for the massive costs. How about that? Roger Waters stated that The Wall was his way of trying to process a lifetime of grief, alienation, fame, and loss. Ironically, in building The Wall metaphorically, he also tore down his own band in real life. Wow, what an incredible collection of albums of 1979. What do you think? What was the best album of the year? What do you think? What was your top 10? It's hard to leave Led Zeppelin out, but man, there's so many classics here and Talking Heads. Oh man, let's have a great discussion below and celebrate 1979 as maybe the greatest year for albums ever. What do you think? What's the greatest year for albums? I'm going to keep doing these countdowns. I found a solution. We'll see if it works. Here's the process, but it's important to talk about the lost and last art of the album. We got to keep it alive. So make sure to subscribe below. We'd love to have you as part of our community. Until next time, 3 chords and the truth, my friends.